everybody, welcome back to the Beauty Mommy. Today I'm going to be showing you how to create this fall look. So I'm going to be showing you the products I use, the techniques I use, and all of the good jazz. I know we don't do a whole lot of makeup tutorials on this channel, so I'm going to be bringing y'all that stuff. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know moving forward what you need to see in the tutorials that I didn't deliver this time, and what you liked about the tutorials, what works for the tutorial videos. I'm going to be working on the setup and the positioning of the camera and all that good stuff. But until then, grab you a drink, a snack, enjoy the video, and let's go.
Alright y'all, so I went ahead and did my eyebrows off camera using the e.l.f. brow pomade in the shade medium brown and the e.l.f. 16-hour hydrating camo concealer in the shade fair warm. Then I went ahead and sprayed the Urban Decay B6 vitamin infused complexion prep spray. And for primer, I'm using the NYX Bear With Me Cannabis Radiant Perfecting Primer. It's super pretty. It has a little light pink tint to it. I just used my hands and rubbed that all in everywhere, all over my face. It's super lightweight, so I don't feel like it's too heavy or anything. If you guys want a full brow tutorial, I can go ahead and do one of those here soon on the channel, but it takes a lot of time, so I did it off camera this time. So next you'll see me going in with that same 16-hour camo concealer by e.l.f. in the shade fair warm. I honestly would recommend you guys doing this after you've done your eyeshadow, just in case there's any fallout. You can cover that up with a concealer. So normally this step would not be next in my makeup, but I for some reason got off track and did it anyways, so you guys can see how I would do the concealer. But again, I would wait to do it until after your eyeshadow is on. Where that I would want to highlight my face on my nose, I do like a little exclamation point. So I start in the middle of my brows and drag it down into the bridge and then just do the very tip. I then make a little V or triangle, whatever, from the top of that exclamation point just to highlight the center of my forehead. Then I'm taking a damp beauty blender and just very lightly blending that concealer in. The harder you dab, I guess you would say, that's going to give you less coverage. The lighter that you blend, then the more coverage you will have. And it's the same with foundation application as well. I prefer using a damp beauty blender because it doesn't absorb so much of your product, so it's not going to waste. And it applies a lot better, in my opinion. It gives you more of that dewy, like airbrushed look. And again, if you waited until after your eyeshadow was on, then this would be the time where you'd cover up any fallout and just make sure that it looks super crispy. So you will see me do this again in the end of the video. I will go back over where I had fallout on my face from doing my eyeshadow, and it just adds extra time if you just do it in the correct order the first time. You can save a little bit of time. When you're blending out concealer, think of it like a buffing motion. You kind of want to buff it out at the same time that you're dabbing, especially right on the edges. You don't want it to just have a super thick line, and concealer will dry exactly how it looks. So if it's thick in an area, that's how your concealer is going to dry. So you definitely want to work on the blend. For cream contour, I'm going in with the NYX Wonder Stick in the shade Universal, and I'm just going around the bridges of my cheeks and the sides of my nose, right around the dot of the exclamation point, and then across the top of my forehead. If you want, you can do like right around the frame of your face and a little bit down your neck. It just really is however you prefer to contour. This is my first time using this stick and I really liked it. I think it was a better shade for me. Normally in my makeup, I use the Wet n Wild contour stick in the shade Oaks on You. So to blend this out, I'm just using a beauty blender that I sprayed down with my setting spray that is by Maybelline. It's the Lasting Fix up to 16-hour finish matte. So I do like the matte finishing spray, and this one was fairly inexpensive. I got it at Walmart actually, so it is a drugstore setting spray, and I'm just using this to blend out my contour. You want it to be, like I said, super seamless. So I find that there's never too much blending in anything you do in makeup. The more you blend your contour, the better it will look. Like I said, you don't want those harsh lines, and blending is the only way to get that. So use it like a buffing motion. Super light taps, and it looks extremely different in a better way, if that makes any sense. I did notice a few places where I didn't like the contour, so I went back and added more. You can always do that. If you find you got too dark, just go back in with some concealer and vice versa. Moving on to the eyeshadow, I'm using the Morphe 35V palette, and I will pop in here which shades I am using. So I have here circled the shade that I'm using in this palette, but it is on the bottom row, third color over, and I'm using this across my entire crease. I'm just following the shape of my eye. To apply the color, I first dab it on the very outside corner, and that is to place the color where I want it. Then I take back and forth motions to kind of place the direction I want the eyeshadow to go, and once I feel like I have it outlined where I want that color to be, then I take the blending motions, small circular motions, to blend it out. If you'll notice, I'm holding my brush a little further down rather than really up close by the bristles. This allows for just like an airbrush finished, super light hands. If you're too close on the bristles, it is just a little bit too rough. You can get really bold and unblendable lines. So I like to hold it a little farther down just to give it more of an airbrushed light look. I'm going to keep adding and blending until it's the color that I want it. So with Morphe palettes, sometimes you'll find that you have to go in a few times with the color to get it how you like it. I prefer not to just cake a whole bunch on and just build the blend. It looks so much better and so much more seamless. Sometimes you have to turn your head and the angles of the mirror that you're using to make sure that no matter which way you are seeing the makeup, it's blended and even on each side for the look that you're going for. In this case, I want the inner and outer corner to have the same amount of color and boldness, if that makes any sense to you all. I'm also just taking it lightly and fanning out the edges. I'm going to fan towards the end of my eyebrow as if I were doing the winged liner. Now for the next color, I will also have it circled here on this 35V palette, but I'm going in with another fluffy brush, and this time I am just dabbing it in place all over my lid. I don't want to blend or swoop with this one because I'll end up putting dark color all over my eyelid and I will look like a raccoon. So I'm just dabbing this one in place, and then I'll go back in with the other brush that had the lighter shade and blend out that crease. And I'm sorry, y'all, if my voice sounds a little raspy or sick. I'm getting over a cold, so I do apologize. I know my voice is super dry right now, but we are gonna push through. So like I said, I'm picking up that other brush and I'm just going back in with that lighter burnt orange color and blending that out. The color I used on my lid was more of a chocolate dark brown. I actually mixed two shades, so I'll have those both circled up here again so you guys can see what the dark shade is compared to the lighter one. And then we will go in with one more shade after I get this all blended in here. Like I said, there's never too much blending to be done, so keep adding and keep blending if you need to. Remember, dabbing puts the color in place. Back and forth motions outlines the shape that you want the eyeshadow to go to, and the circular blending motions help blend all of it out. Now I'm going in with a domed eyeshadow brush, and I'm taking a super light, almost skin tone color right along the edges under my brow bone just to kind of soften that edge and make sure it's not so dark right up there by my brow, and I'm following that shape. So my brushes are just from Walmart. I wanted to show you the shape. They're nothing fancy, but just so you know what shape to go into when doing these different colors. And now I am covering up the fallout that I had from doing my eyeshadow using that same e.l.f. concealer. I'm just lightly doing it this time because we have already concealed. Like I said, this step should have came just now instead of before the eyeshadow. Would have made more sense, but whatever. Making sense, I guess, is not on my agenda today. So I'm just going to blend that back out with the same beauty blender, being very careful not to get the concealer onto the shadow because then I just have to go in and do more work, if you know what I'm saying. Also, if you wanted to go back and apply more concealer right under the eyes and lightly dab like I'm doing here, if you can notice, it does give you more of a full coverage conceal. So it's definitely just up to you. Going in with this small flat brush, I'm using the BH Cosmetics Glowing and Grease palette. I'm using the gold to highlight my inner crease. It's in the shade Olympia. So I did this right in the inner corner of my eye. I don't know why I said crease, but y'all know what I'm trying to say. I'm also, if you notice, taking my pinky and buffing out some of the really dark areas of the brown on my eyeshadow. And then I will also put this same gold color right underneath my brows to highlight the brow bone. Now going in with an angled brush, I'm using the darkest black shade in that 35V palette to give myself a wing. If you're scared of wings or aren't that good at them, then I would recommend using eyeshadow to do it. It's a much easier application. You're able to do it exactly in the shape and look that you desire much easier. As you can see, I am such a slob, so I got that black eyeshadow fallout, so I just took a little bit of concealer and covered it up. You guys know the trick. Concealer can be your best friend and act as an eraser. So before I set my foundation, I'm using the setting spray by Maybelline on my beauty blender, and I mixed the Tarte Face Tape Foundation in the shade Tan Honey, it's 45H, with the True Lumi Glotion. It's a natural glow enhancer that I add to my foundation to deepen it up. It's in the shade Deep Glow 904, it's by Loreal. So I add that and it just gives it an illuminating look, and also it deepens my foundation because I don't like how light mine is, if that makes any sense. So they have different shades and you can add that to your foundation and it doesn't change the consistency. I'm just using dabbing motions. Remember, the lighter you touch, the more airbrush it'll be. I find that you want to dab because otherwise you get smeared looks. And the Tarte foundation, the face tape, is one that is a very wet. You definitely want to set it after applying it. You can't just leave it. It will not dry matte. Even when I use the matte setting spray on my beauty blender, that does not cause it to dry matte, you guys. And even setting it at the end with that setting spray doesn't cause it to dry matte. So this is one foundation you do have to set. I love the coverage. I just wish it wouldn't move throughout the day. To set underneath my eyes, I'm using that same beauty blender I used for concealer, and I'm going in with the Wet n Wild translucent powder. It's the Photo Focus. This is just a very, very translucent powder that if you apply too much, you will be washed out. So just a very light amount to set that foundation so it's not so creamy looking and isn't moving all over my face. And I'm just applying that in the same places that I applied my concealer that I want that highlighted look. I don't let it bake, I just immediately blend it out. Like I said, with this translucent powder, it can show up kind of washed out, so I don't like to apply too much or leave it for too long. Don't forget to set your chin and your upper lip, as well as in between your eyebrows and the middle of your forehead. Those are areas we're going to highlight, so setting it with that translucent powder already brightens up the area for us a little bit. For bronzer, I'm actually using that same eyeshadow palette, and I used the burnt orange color and the lightest tan color that we used to soften the edges. I will have those circled here, which two colors I used for my bronzer, but I'm just doing that right on the edge and then bringing it down around the bottom of my cheek. Making a kissy face really helps. It's just I'm going to go over that already defined cheekbone. If you don't already have a defined cheekbone, then you're kind of just going to want to make an L right underneath where you would highlight your face. Do it until your heart's desire. Some people don't like a super deep or dark bronzer. I feel like for fall, the more contoury, the more of a fall vibe you're going to get. So I usually like to go in with a super dark shade. Now, normally for my bronzer, I use the e.l.f. bronzing palette in the shade Deep. It's the darkest one they have, and I use the top 3 shades. For some reason, I couldn't find it while I was doing my makeup today, so I just went ahead and used the eyeshadow in the palette, and I wanted to show you guys that it can still work. It just takes a little bit more blending, and you can't put so much on there. Remember, eyeshadows are a little bit more pigmented than most bronzers that we're going to use. So wherever you place the cream contour, you're going to want to do some bronzer there. So around your nose, right on up into your eyebrow, and then across the top of your forehead, and anywhere else you place it, rather that be around the bottoms of your face, the bottom of your chin, wherever that cream contour went, girl, you know you better put some bronzer. Alright, and to cover all my bases to make sure that we don't have any foundation that is not set, I'm going in with the Maybelline Fit Me Loose Finishing Powder, and I'm using the shade Medium Deep. It's number 30. I'm going in with all of the places where I didn't use that translucent powder or the bronzer. So my chin, in the middle of my cheek, and my forehead, just anywhere I didn't hit it with the bronzer and the translucent powder, I'm going to hit it with the Fit Me Loose Finishing Powder. And if I notice any areas that still look dewy and wet, I'm going to hit it with this loose finishing powder just to make sure that, like I said, everything is set and we're not going to have a moving face mask all day. For blush, I'm using the Too Faced Sweethearts blush in the shade Candy Glow, and I just mix all three shades and kind of put it right there on the highest point or the apple of my cheekbone, basically right in between the highlight and the bronzer, just kind of to mesh the two together. I really love pinks for blush, like a really, I don't want to say girly pink, but like the girliest pink you could think of. Yep, that's going to be my blush. And for highlight, I'm going back in with the BH Cosmetics Glowing in Grease, and I'm using the light pink shade called Athens. It has a little bit of a gold glow to it. I just think it's really just the softest highlight in the palette. It's not extremely pigmented like the gold is, so I love using this for my highlight when I want the focus to be on my contour and my eyes. And again, we're going to place the highlight anywhere we used the concealer. So across the bridge of our nose, in those points on your cheekbones, and in the center of your forehead, and on your chin, of course. Taking a super tiny brush, I'm going to line the bottom of my eye with that darkest shade we put on the lid there. So just lining the bottom of my eye to give it that full and well-rounded, complete, finished look. Finito! Funny story is I just started a job in a kitchen with a woman who cooks, but she speaks absolutely no English. So trying to get orders made that she absolutely has no idea what you're talking about, it's a fun time, y'all. And to finish the look off, grab your favorite nude lipstick or gloss. I love focusing on the eyes and the contour for fall, so you definitely want to stick to a sheer or nude lip for this look. For mascara, I am using the Roller Lash by Benefit, and this is just in this shade. Oh, I don't think there's a shade, you guys. It's the only one they make. But what color, what else would you want besides black for your mascara? I use a little Q-tip to clean up my boo-boos. If you make a mess, just use a Q-tip. This is when you could also apply lashes. I don't wear them, so yeah, I just get a really volumizing mascara. It does the trick for me. I wear glasses, and you know the deal, girl. That really completes this look, guys. Make sure you're subscribed to see more tutorials in the future. I really love this look for fall. It's so pretty, and I hope you guys learned some tips and tricks for doing your makeup. And I'm sorry, y'all, I did not do my raggedy head of hair for this makeup look. It would have looked even better, but it's all right. We're still thriving. Thank you all. See you next time.